Your dog is staring at you. Not glancing, not watching casually while chewing a toy. Staring with that fixed, unblinking intensity that makes you wonder if they're reading your mind or judging your life choices. Most people assume it's either pure love or a manipulative plea for treats. Both of these are real. Neither is what's actually happening. What's actually happening involves a communication system that evolved specifically to decode human faces, a neurological process that mirrors how we read each other, and a form of attention that researchers have found to be more sophisticated than what most parents give their own children. Number 1. The domestication rewiring. In 2015, researchers at Azabu University in Japan discovered something that fundamentally changed how we understand dog cognition. They tested 30 dogs and their owners, measuring oxytocin levels before and after eye contact. When dogs engaged in prolonged mutual gazing with their humans, oxytocin levels increased in both species by an average of 130% in the dogs and 300% in the humans. This is the same neurochemical loop that bonds mothers to infants. But here's what makes it extraordinary. Wolves, even those raised by humans from birth, do not trigger this response. A parallel study tested 11 wolves hand-raised from puppies, and mutual gazing produced no oxytocin increase in either the wolves or their handlers. Dogs didn't just learn to look at us. They evolved a biochemical hack that plugs directly into our parental bonding system. Somewhere in the 15,000 to 40,000 years of domestication, the dogs that could trigger this response in humans got more food, more protection, more reproductive success. The stare became genetic. Number 2. Facial scanning patterns you don't notice. When your dog stares at your face, they're not taking in a general impression. In 2017, researchers at the University of Helsinki used eye-tracking technology on 31 dogs while showing them photographs of human faces displaying different emotions. Dogs spent 68% of their viewing time focused on the eye region of human faces, significantly more than they spent on any other facial feature. They also demonstrated left gaze bias, meaning they preferentially look at the right side of the human face, the side that in humans displays emotion more intensely due to right hemisphere brain dominance. This is the same scanning pattern human infants use. But there's a second factor. A 2018 study by Juliana Kaminski at the University of Portsmouth found that dogs modify their facial expressions significantly more when humans are paying attention to them versus when humans look away. They're not just reading your face, they're performing for your attention, which means they understand that you are also reading theirs. The stare is a two-way assessment happening faster than conscious thought. Number 3. The emotion recognition database. Your dog has built a database of your emotional states, and they're consulting it every time they look at you. Researchers at the University of Lincoln conducted a study in 2016 where they tested 17 dogs using a cross-modal sensory integration task. Dogs were shown photographs of human faces expressing happiness or anger, while simultaneously hearing vocalizations that either matched or mismatched the facial expression. The dogs looked significantly longer at the face that matched the vocalization, demonstrating that they integrate auditory and visual emotional cues the same way humans do. They're not responding to a single signal. They're constructing a complete emotional profile from multiple sensory inputs. A follow-up study published in 2018 found that dogs could distinguish between genuine smiles involving the orbicularis oculi muscles around the eyes and fake smiles that only involved the mouth. They've learned which of your expressions predict behavior changes and which are performative. When your dog stares at you after you've had a hard day, they're not sensing some mystical energy. They're reading micro-expressions you don't know you're making, cross-referencing them with your vocal tone and body tension, and accessing their stored knowledge of what those combinations have meant in the past. Number 4. The referential looking system. Dogs stare at you because they've learned you hold information about the world that they need. In 2012, researchers at Eötvös Loránd University in Budapest tested 60 dogs in a problem-solving scenario where food was placed in one of 2 containers. When dogs couldn't solve the problem themselves, 87% of them turned to look at their owner's face within 8 seconds. This is called referential looking, and it's the same behavior human toddlers use before they develop language. But here's where it gets really interesting. A 2009 study by Brian Hare at Duke University found that dogs outperform chimpanzees and wolves at using human communicative gestures like pointing. When tested with identical conditions, dogs followed human pointing toward hidden food with 73% accuracy, while wolves managed only 18% and chimps 38%. Your dog has evolved to treat your face and gestures as a navigation system. When they stare at you before approaching a stranger or entering a new room, they're checking your expression for safety information. Researchers call this social referencing. Your face is their risk assessment tool. Number 5. The attachment measurement. That stare is also a test, and your dog is measuring your response. A 2003 study by Joseph Topol at the Hungarian Academy of Sciences used the strange situation test, originally designed for human infants, with 51 dogs. Dogs showed the same attachment behaviors as human children. Securely attached dogs explored freely when their owner was present, but showed distress when separated, followed by enthusiastic reunion behavior. 61% of dogs tested fell into the secure attachment category, almost exactly the same proportion found in human toddlers. When your dog stares at you and you look back, you're reinforcing that attachment bond. When you look away or ignore the stare, the dog's cortisol levels increase measurably. A 2015 study at Eötvös-Loránd University measured stress hormones in dogs during various interactions and found that prolonged lack of eye contact with their owner elevated cortisol by 43% over baseline within 7 minutes. The stare is not passive observation. It's an active question your dog is asking about the security of your relationship, and your face is providing the answer every single time. Number 6. What they see that you don't show. Your dog can read intentions in your face before you act on them. In 2019, researchers at Kyoto University tested 54 dogs using a violation of expectation paradigm. Dogs watched as a human reached toward one of 2 objects repeatedly, establishing a pattern. When the human then looked at the other object, but continued reaching toward the original one, the dogs showed surprise, indicated by longer looking times. They expected the reach to follow the gaze. They understand that your eyes predict your actions. But there's a deeper layer. A 2016 study published in Learning and Behavior found that dogs could detect human attentional states. When a human was visibly distracted or not paying attention, dogs were significantly less likely to obey commands. Not because they were being defiant, but because they understood the human wasn't fully committed to the interaction. They read engagement versus distraction in facial cues most humans couldn't articulate. When your dog stares at you while you're on your phone, they're not just wanting attention. They're noting that your face shows divided focus, and they're waiting for the moment when your expression shifts to full presence. The next time your dog fixes you with that unwavering stare, here's what's actually happening. Their oxytocin system is activating, creating a bonding loop that rewires both your brains toward attachment. They're scanning the right side of your face with the same pattern a human infant uses, checking for emotional congruence between your expression, your voice, and your body. They're accessing their database of your previous emotional states and running a pattern match. They're checking whether you hold information they need about the environment, using your face as a risk assessment tool. They're measuring the security of your attachment by monitoring whether you return the gaze. And they're reading intentions and attentional states in micro-expressions you're not conscious of making. This is not simple neediness. This is a multi-layered cognitive process refined over thousands of generations to turn a wolf into the only non-human animal that can read a human face with the sophistication of another human. When you look back and hold that gaze, you're not just acknowledging your dog. You're participating in the most successful interspecies communication system ever evolved. If this changed how you see that stare, subscribe and tell me in the comments what your dog's stare looks like right now.